Hi guys, I'm Declan.
And I'm Itala.
And this is Ethical Fashion Today. And we've got an event coming up next week because it is Fashion Revolution Week, which is an annual event that's been going around since the collapse of Rana Plaza. So we thought it'd be good to, in this episode, we want to talk about education of ethical fashion and probably some bits on sustainable fashion because they cross over a lot. So I'll start with just mentioning a bit about the fashion revolution, because I consider themselves a movement and trying to obviously make ethical fashion the norm. I think that's the goal. But really the way that they go about that is, I think, through education. That's the most valuable resource I find from that.
Yeah, they not only made ethical fashion like a social movement through Instagram and the hashtag Who Made My Clothes, but they also reach schools and universities with programs, and they offer resources to use as well, and it's all free, open to everyone. So it does facilitate a lot the education of fashion and sustainability and ethics to become more accessible to everyone.
And at the moment it's like relying on individuals, like either individual teachers or just people who want to share this message. It's quite interesting because I'm not sure whether I think it's something that should be taught at school. I think obviously there's only so much you can learn at school.
Yeah, it's kind of like the curriculum is already so full.
Yeah.
Anyways, and there's like so many other things that like pupils could do with learning, like some life skills, like cooking, for example.
But I've seen I saw once like last year for this week. There's a school in Northern Ireland did it, and that looks quite interesting actually. Like I think like having like a short term, like a week in the year just to talk about fashion is like kind of almost a good way about it, because all the kids were having fun with like the banners and of the information and like the facts and like asking who made my clothes and stuff. It's probably something that a lot of kids have never even questioned, even thought about, like who makes my clothes. Like we sort of like now we're trying to educate kids about like where the food comes from and stuff. That's not just coming from the supermarket. It has to be grown somewhere. But we haven't had that conversation with clothes. So just to have that one sentence of like who made my clothes is quite valuable, I think.
Yeah, there are some stuff being going on in schools, like in relation to short projects. There's a TICE, there's this creative enterprise, and they're based here in Newcastle upon Tyne. And what they do is basically they deliver small workshops to groups of schools, and it's all practical, so you can learn anything from the fashion industry to animation, photography. So they do give like a taste of different creative industries, and they explore all aspects within those industries. There's also something that I found that I wasn't aware. It's called Practical Action, and they do like similar things, but they also talk about climate change. They talk about textiles and sustainability, food, all sorts, like geography, engineering. There's loads of different things that schools can get involved with. It doesn't look like they are kind of like operating in the UK yet, although they do have the headquarters in England. I can't find anything going on in the UK, but it seems like they should be doing it soon.
But the TICE is just in the UK.
The TICE is only in Newcastle at the moment. Well, they might. I don't know if they do like Durham and.
Because that's like the good thing, I suppose. Like the interesting thing about that is how they've aimed at like older students, like secondary school, like students who are who are possibly thinking about working in the industry.
Yeah, it opens up like new doors, I think.
Yeah.
Like this is what the problem is, because it's important to get like the students thinking at an early stage. Like how can they solve problems in the world? It's not just about thinking about what kind of career do I want, what career is going to make me money, but how can I make the world a little better?
Yeah, and I think keeping up to date with that education helps like the newer generations know what problems are actually to solve, and not because obviously we don't need to create new problems just for the sake of it. There's enough problems to solve.
Yeah, exactly. And also bringing sustainability and ethics into education, it creates like that connection between students and people who are involved in the everyday items that they interact with. It kind of like it gives like a face almost, like like behind the things that they're using, which if you want to go towards like a more sustainable future, you do have to consider not like just the materials but also the people behind those things. And
I do think they have a good part of going in educating like younger students with this fashion, with like a event like this Fashion Revolution or something. Is that it's not just aimed at people who are interested in the industry. It's aimed at like just educating the general public, because that will obviously that if it'll probably get media attention and stuff like that, and that'll just sort of get people to be aware that they're, even if they're not interested in, or they don't consider themselves interested in fashion, to ask where the clothes are coming from, because it's almost impossible not to be involved in. Well, it is really impossible not to be involved in the fashion industry in this world. So
yeah, it's kind of like fashion is not just about being trendy and
exactly.
Being like like just I don't know, just wearing like pretty stuff, like catwalk, and it's not about that anymore. It's much bigger.
Yeah. I mean, everyone has to wear clothes, and I'm sure most people would prefer to know that them clothes were not harming other people, other people's lifestyles or the environment.
You can see that people are genuinely interested in like not harming others. Like they don't know the impact, and it is kind of like overwhelming to think about. How do I have to consider that as well? Like in my routine, just one more thing to keep in mind, which can be a bit like like hard work for some, but people are interested. They are asking questions, and they want to know like easy ways that they can just basically not contribute to unfair practices.
So like I think the Fashion Revolution started like when the organisers of that first came up with the idea. I don't know if their goal was education. I think it was more of like remembrance. Like they didn't want people to just forget that this event where like hundreds of workers died, and just be like, it was in the news. 1,000 workers, and then it was in the news, and then like a couple months later everyone forgets about it. So this is kind of I think they wanted to just sort of make sure that people didn't just let the fast fashion keep going in that direction.
It's very common in the news, like there'll be like a disaster and people are going to be like, oh my god, that's shocking, like I can't believe that's happening, and then a week later there's going to be something else in the news, so you just forget, you just move on. So it's really important what they're doing, just to
and I think the media has quite a lot of responsibility in terms of education for the general public, because I feel like the news in whatever way that people consume it is like that's people's primary education that's not involved in their field. So if you're like obviously not in the fashion industry or whatever, then if anything's important is happening in that the news is going to be your reference to that, your education of that, what's going on, unless if there's bad things happening or good things happening even. I think the media has a important part to play in that education of the general public.
Yeah, if people don't know what's going on, how can they put their positive input?
And it's definitely should be, and it definitely is getting more attention because it is becoming quite important problem for globally.
Yeah, there's an organisation called Trade as well, and it's a UK charity that works towards reducing the environmental and social impacts of clothing waste. So they've got like recycling stations across the country, but they also run programs in primary and secondary levels. It says that they reached 10,000 students in a year, and they provide in-depth interactive workshops on issues such as life cycle of clothing, upcycling and mending, geography, technology, for older students too. So there's quite a few programs and organisations just bringing education into the schools. I don't think this is going to become like kind of like a government curriculum.
No. They have talked about that, but I don't think that's unless it was to follow like just an annual weekly thing or something. I don't think this shouldn't it's obviously causing a lot of problems, but it shouldn't really be that everyone has to check everything that they buy. Obviously not. I don't think people have time to check obviously we know about clothing, but then we don't know about other stuff, and we rely on people and sources that we trust to tell us whether that's good or bad. So I don't think that we can sort of get in-depth education about everything.
Yeah, you can't know everything 100%. So it is important to have others that do focus on like each area and provide you with information.
So
there's handbooks as well to be downloaded for schools that've got like programs and activities that you can give students, and information resources. There's so much online.
Yeah, and I think another thing that's going to be a lot easier, the easiest way for the public to know is for the brands, that the brands, the high street brands, any brands that the customer goes to buy from, has that information, that transparency right in front of them. So that's why I think it's almost good that a lot of these high street brands are coming out with these sustainable selections, even if they're not necessarily that high level or that not perfect, but it sort of opens that door for people to be ask why is this sustainable, or what are you doing, or to even sort of say, well, that's not good enough, because they've said that they think that that's the goal, and they're sort of leaving that option there for people to say, well, I don't think that you're reaching that target's fair or whatever. But also I think it leaves the door open to say, for the public that maybe didn't even know or didn't want to know, well, if this is a sustainable small collection, what's the rest of the clothing that you're selling? It's the brands, a lot of big high street brands, and now it's sort of like an acceptance, an acknowledgement of the fact that I think most of the public probably knew, but it's like the brands now saying, oh yeah, we know that's not sustainable, and this is. And that's another thing I think about key thing about education at the moment, where I want it to move, is that it is focused mainly on sustainability for a lot of these brands and media and stuff like that. Their education is sort of from that sustainability angle, which is not, for me, the only problem. We should really be talking about the ethics side of it, the people that are getting taken advantage of, because it can be easily made sustainable but still be exploiting people. That's not necessarily what they mean by sustainable. There's no
sustainable and ethical are two different things.
There's no legal requirements to call something sustainable, so it doesn't necessarily mean anything. You just have to sort of read what that brand means by that word. It's
definitely good to see that companies addressing the customers with those sustainable labels, and because they are aware of the problem. They're just going to do more about it, but of course they're thinking of profits. It's not really sustainable in their pockets to.
I think that's where the consumer comes in, where it's important for the consumer and to educate the consumer to be aware of this, is that if you should ask these questions, because the brand's not going to do it out of, well, some brands will, but the big brands that relying on the industry so heavily are not going to necessarily do it out of because it'll make them feel good. They're going to do it because that's what the consumers want to pay for. So it doesn't mean that you have to pay more. It just means that you have to tell them that that's what you want, or question what then that what they are providing that's not good enough.
But you have to let them know that what the product that they're providing now is just not good. Like that, it's unacceptable. And even though you love the designs, you love the looks, you just cannot support those.
Yeah.
Because they'll definitely not change when, like, you know, they've been doing it for years. Like some companies, like hundreds of years old, they're not going to change their business just because they feel like it's the right thing to do. Because up until now, it's been working. People are buying.
Yeah. So I think that's why movements, especially like this fashion revolution, which is like probably the biggest event around this subject, is working so well, and they have other programs doing that. That's where it's not just about education. It's like they do get like people to message the brands with their banner, which is like, who made my clothes, or to question like on social media and stuff.
Yeah, it's open to everyone. Even like the Fashion Revolution Week, just, you know, like mobilising brands like ourselves to create something, like organise something ourselves, like to be open to the public and raise awareness about all the issues.
Yeah, so our event is going to be for like 5 days, and we've got multiple brands involved that are local or doing like positive.
Yeah, they're all sustainable and ethical. So
and that's just another form of education for us, because we will see what they're doing that we've never thought about. It's also makes it accessible for the public to be like, to see brands that they've never heard of and stuff, and see that there is options out there.
And also to have all the information like put right in front of them. So we'll have an installation as well, and so it's going to be like the whole journey, like to make a garment from seed all the way to the shelves. So you'll be able to see all the materials being created, the processes of dyeing, making.
Because it's not that simple at the moment. It's not that simple of a thing for us to just, for everyone to just say, oh yeah, that's the good one, you should buy that. It's more of a like, here's your options. Like, what do you believe in? Because we've got like recycled or organic or just second-hand, like vintage stuff. Like there's lots of different options that all have pros and cons to that will fit with each individual.
Yeah, you cannot be perfect, and you cannot be 100% sustainable, but you can just have like, just make little changes in your life, step by step. You know, to the rate that you feel comfortable with, and any changes, you know, like that, they are positive, plus. There's no way to go wrong, really.
No,
if you're trying to be better.
And obviously nowadays with like the internet and stuff, it is easy to find. Like, obviously, if you're listening to this or watching this, then that's obviously another form of education. There's other brands and other companies and that have like podcasts and blogs and all sorts of information out there. So yeah, just keep looking.
Yeah, keep looking, keep digging.
Because it is a fast changing
industry.
Yeah, especially at the moment, like with a lot of these topics coming up and becoming high priority. There's new stuff coming out from brands and stuff all the time. Like,
there will always be like a better solution. So what's good now may not necessarily be, you know, the best.
Yeah, like mistakes can be made. Like obviously there's a lot of recycled polyester, and that all has pros and cons. And like, obviously, when plastic and polyester first came out, that was thought of as a great solution. Like, it's cheap and it's efficient and stuff like that. So it's only through continued education that we try to catch anything that's going in the wrong direction as soon as possible, rather than letting it get like out of hand. So that's why education.
And I see why it's important to like be educated in small bits, because I can see that too much education in one go can kind of like freeze the individual, like just say, you know, put you off. I was like, oh, there's really nothing I can do. Whatever I do now is not going to make any difference, because, you know, there's like so many problems going on. So I think too much education in one go can be a bit dangerous. Yeah,
just keep it to like, just do what you can, basically. I think the best thing that everyone can ever do is just do what they can with what they know at the time. and don't be ignorant, don't be blind, and
like choose to be conscious.
Yeah.
Like to be aware and ask questions.
Yeah. Well, that's been us for today.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks for listening or watching. It's Ethical Fashion Today.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Or next week at the event.
Yeah.